I have been uh, I've owned a demonstration company. I have run my own business, my own store. So I've done a little bit of everything in the health food industry. So when I talk, I try to talk from not only experience for myself, but also dealing with a lot of customers, thousands and thousands of customers, and seeing what works. Today's topic is going to be about diabetes. So why did I get on the topic of diabetes? So many people have it, and a lot of people ask me about it. And I wanted to discuss not really get too much into what is diabetes. I'm going to go over a few things of what is the definitions of diabetes. Then we're going to go into some things like what foods you can eat, what supplements you can take, what minerals, what vitamins, all those things like that. So let's get straight to it. So I'm going to go to the Merck it's Merck manual. So we're going to Merck. So we're going to go over the definition of diabetes, and I'm just going to read it out, and then we're going to take it from there. And then we're going to have actually a talk, because I prefer to talk about it. Diabetes is a disorder in which the body does not produce enough or respond normally to insulin, causing blood sugar glucose levels to be abnormally high. Okay? There's some of the things that people will feel when they become diabetic. They will have frequent urination and thirst are increased. People may even lose weight if they're not trying to. And then we can go over some of the things. Gives us the definition right here. You have type 1 diabetes, and this type, formerly called insulin-dependent diabetes, the body immune system attacks the insulin-producing cells of the pancreas, and more than 90% of them are permanently damaged. The pancreas, therefore, produces little or no insulin. Only about 5 to 10% of all people with diabetes have type 1 diabetes. Okay? Now we're going to talk about a little bit about type 2. This is majority, so we know that only 5 to 10% of the people only have type 1 diabetes. Then they have type 2 diabetes. Type 2 diabetes, formerly called non-insulin dependent diabetes or adult onset diabetes. The pancreas often continues to produce insulin, sometimes even at a higher than normal level. A lot of people are unaware of that, especially in the early stages of the disease. However, the body develops resistance to the effects of insulin, so there is not enough insulin to meet the body's needs. As type 2 diabetes progresses, the insulin-producing ability of the pancreas decreases. Okay, so type 2 diabetes was once rare in children and adolescents has become more common. However, it usually begins in people older than 30, so usually older people, 30 and above, and become progressively common with age. About 26% of all people older than 65 have type 2 diabetes. People of certain racial and ethnic backgrounds are increased risk of developing diabetes. Blacks, Asian Americans, American Indians, and people of Spanish and Latino ancestry who live in the United States have a 2 to 3-fold increase as compared to with whites. Type 2 diabetes also tends to run in the family. So we just kind of went over what the Merck manual, because Merck, this is one of the things they do. So we just went over the Merck manual, the definition of diabetes type 1 and type 2. And as we see, more and more people, 90% of the people have type 2 diabetes. Only about 5 to 10% of the population actually has type 1. And type 1 is the one that is your body has attacked itself and starts to destroy some of the beta cells of the pancreas, making it very difficult for your body to secrete insulin because your body actually attacked itself. Whereas type 2 diabetes, they actually don't know what causes it. We believe it's genetics. As part of it is genetics, and there's also diet. A high sugar diet, a lot of processed foods and things like that, that slowly makes the insulin not effective. You become insulin resistant. So those are some of the things that's going on with type 2 and type 1 diabetes. Now, we're going to talk a little bit, I'm going over a little thing. How many people in the United States actually have diabetes? Now, this is crazy. They said right now about 38 million Americans have diabetes. That's like 1 out of 10 Americans have diabetes. And how many African Americans have diabetes? Okay, so out of the 37 million, 11% or 12% of that are actually African American people. So we are one of the highest groups of people who actually have diabetes by percentage. So it's a huge disease in America, and it's just getting progressively worse. And that's the people who have been reported. They believe as many people who are diabetic, there are pre-diabetics, people who are starting to have insulin resistance, but they haven't gone all the way to diabetes. So those are some of the things we learned today about how many people actually have diabetes. Now let's go into family talk, grown folks talk. A lot of people, well, let's take it back. They say diabetes is genetics, and that is true. A lot of people who develop diabetes, it ran in their family. So there's a history of diabetes in the family. But there's a statement, nature. So you have genetics and nature. You know, it's in. So in the family, you have a basic to become diabetic. Then there's nurture. So you have an opportunity to not turn on those genes, to allow those genes to express themselves, to not become diabetic. And what do I mean by that? A lot of times if our parents were diabetic, we eat like our parents who became diabetic. So a lot of times we may have the gene for diabetes, but if we change our diets and avoid eating the same bad habits that our parents did, we don't allow our bodies to turn on that gene. The gene wants to express itself, but the environment must be correct for the gene to express itself. Okay? Express yourself. No. So the gene wants to turn on. So understand that. The gene wants to turn on, but it will not turn on into the environment it's built for the gene to turn on. That environment, a lot of times, is a cause of a high sugar diet, a cause of tremendous amount of stress, a cause of a lot of inflammation, a cause of very high fatty diet that is actually not good fats. So the more pro-inflammatory fats, it allows that gene to turn on. It allows that gene to now say, oh, we got the environment we want. We're going to express ourselves. You know? So you ever heard of something called gene expression? You know, you hear this in biochemistry, you hear this in genetics. They call it gene expression. Oh, the gene is expressing itself. The gene is in the environment and it allows it to turn on to express its full glory. Now, if you're diabetic, you don't want that gene to turn on. You want it to be in an environment where it doesn't turn on. You want it to be in a high antioxidant environment. You want it to be in a low stress environment. You want it to be in a low blood sugar level environment. You want it to be in an environment where there's tons of nutrients. Why do you want that? Because you want that gene to not express itself. You do not want that gene to turn on. You want that gene to stay off. Keep the faucet off. Do not have the water running. Okay? So that's one of the things when we talk about diabetes, when they say genes and things like that, when it comes down to genetics and it runs in the family. Our job is to make sure it doesn't turn on. So we don't eat like our parents who were diabetic. We don't eat like our grandparents who were diabetic. And we don't eat like our great-grandparents who were diabetic. We break the habit of eating like them to improve our health that does not allow that gene to turn on. And even if it does turn on, a lot of times you can control it much better. Now, we're going to go into foods that can definitely help you when it comes down to you being diabetic, or actually if you being hypoglycemic. So we talked about diabetes. Now hypoglycemia is another form of it, in which you develop low blood sugar, where your body is excreting too much insulin and it works, and it allows your blood sugar to drop really low. Okay, that's just as dangerous. I actually had a friend, Big Jim, first person I ever met that actually had hypoglycemia. I have a friend of mine that's a close friend. I'm not going to say his name, but he has hypoglycemia. And when he doesn't eat, he gets really, really sick, and he throws up, and he gets a massive headache. So you have diabetes and hypoglycemia. What I'm going to talk about is going to affect both sides of the coin. Okay? So one of the main things we want to start doing is improve our protein consumption. Okay? Now, when I talk protein, I'm talking certain types of protein. I'm not talking about you go out there and eat some hog maws and chitlins, you know. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about you eating cleaner proteins and things like that. So we're going to start with cold water fish, fatty fish, like your salmons and your, I like sardines and your anchovies and your cods and things like that. Those fish we already went through before and talked about how important they are when it comes down to the omega-3 consumption. So cold water fish, cold water fatty fish, even tunas are good too. Just too much heavy metal, so not too much though. But those cold water fish are high in omega-3s. And what did we talk about the last time we talked about omega-3s? They reduce what? Inflammation. And one of the things we want to do is not allow the gene to turn on by giving it what? An environment that's low in inflammatory properties. So we want to keep inflammation down. We want to consume much more nuts, such as your walnuts, your almonds, your pistachio, your Brazil nuts, things like that. If you can consume much more nuts, nuts are rich in protein and rich in fiber. So it's extremely good for keeping that blood sugar much more regulated. Chickpeas, chicken. If you like chicken, consume chicken and your birds. Just don't go crazy, but consume your chicken and your birds and things like that, your birds. Limit red meats. If you can actually avoid them, it's the best. But limit red meats, but some people love them. So I'm a firm believer in giving you a balance. So limit them, maybe once a week, maximum twice a week. I really say once a week, but your limit your red meats. And then you want to consume eggs. And when you're consuming eggs, do not just consume the whites. Consume the whole egg with the yolk. I know you hear about the cholesterol and all that other stuff, but the best part of the actual egg is in the yolk. All the vitamins that you need is going to help you. All the things that's going to protect your brain and help you with focus and memory is all in the yolk. All the vitamins, minerals, all the benefits is in the yolk. Only the white has protein, and that's not enough. It's not just about consuming protein. It's about consuming whole foods that's going to help heal the body. So eggs is really good. Okay, so we talked about some protein sources. Now we're going to talk about our vegetables. I'm a firm believer that when you're dealing with diabetes or hypoglycemia, you want to limit your grains and you want to limit your starches. Okay? Not saying you cannot eat them, but you want to limit them. So the 80% of your plate to 90% of your plate is a protein and a green. Okay? Is a protein and a green. And maybe 10% is actually a starchy or a grain or something of that nature. So you want to consume your vegetables, you want to consume your kale, your broccoli, your collard greens, your okra. I'm a firm believer in all types of greens. Your spinach, your Brussels sprouts, your cabbages, all those things, your salads. So if you like green leafy like arugula and escarole and things like that, those are all good for you. Those are extremely good for you. They keep inflammation down in the body. They supply you with tons of fiber. They supply you with chlorophyll that keeps the blood clean and things like that. And they supply you with tons of minerals. Then if you want like non-starchy vegetables, such as like if you like squashes, squashes are one of the best. So if you're diabetic, you can enjoy yourself with squashes, such as zucchini, yellow squash, butternut squash, spinach, spaghetti squash. Any of those that come in that squash family, enjoy. It's a beautiful time, Right now, we're in the summertime. They're growing like crazy, so enjoy your squashes. Also, eat your cucumbers. That's also in that kind of squash type family. And tomatoes and avocados. Extremely good for you to eat if you're diabetic or hypoglycemia. They don't raise your blood sugar, okay? As well as they also keep inflammation down in the body. As well as, like I said, they supply you with tons of nutrition. Then you could do seeds. You know, I like to give you a variety of things that you can eat. So when you talk to someone, you're not just telling them what to avoid, you're also telling them what to consume. So you can do your seeds. Like, you know, like back in the day when you used to have pumpkin seeds and sunflower seeds. Just make sure they're not too salty. You know, I like a little salt on mine, but roasted. But if you don't want that, no salt on them. You could do your chia seeds. You could do your hemp seeds. You could do your flax seeds. Sesame seeds, the thing that's on your bun, is actually really good for you. It's really rich in calcium. A lot of people are unaware of that. So sesame seeds are really good for you to consume and really high in fiber. And all these things, all those things also help control your blood sugar. You're giving your body satiety. That means you're satisfying your appetite without actually raising the blood sugar. And doing that keeps that blood sugar more under control. Then now let's talk about the fruits. So we in the season of fruits. Since we are talking about diabetes and hypoglycemia, we really have to watch our blood sugar. We have to watch the amount of fruits we take in. If you are diabetic or you have hypoglycemia, the most important fruits that you can eat are berries. Okay? The most important fruits that you can eat are berries. Blueberries, blackberries, raspberries, mulberries, all those things like that. If you could think of any other berry out there, the best thing for you. Why is that? Berries are low glycemic. They are sweet to the tongue, but they are much lower in sugar than your typical watermelons and cantaloupes and honeydew melons and things of that nature. That allows you to be able to get a sweet tooth, satisfy your sweet tooth, as well as keep your blood sugar much more stabilized as any of the fruits. And remember, antioxidants are really, really high in berries. Okay, antioxidants are very high in berries. So you're getting all these things that's going to keep, you're going to consume sweets, but they're not going to negatively impact you the same way as other fruits will, like a pear or a huge red delicious apple and things like that. The sugar content is much lower, and the benefits that you get from them, the antioxidants that reduce inflammation in the body, that protects the brain, that protects your nerves, that protects your blood vessel, are all found in those berries. And then when you think about grains, like I said, when we talk about a plate, boom, we got 80% is going to be our protein and vegetables, okay? 80%. And then the other 20% can be a grain. I even like us to go up to 90% of protein and vegetables, and really is like 60%, I would say about 50% vegetable, 40% protein, 10% grain, if you could do it like that. But there are some grains that you can eat, okay? So it doesn't mean you got to be devoid of all grains, but if you reduce them, you're going to get your blood sugar much more under control. Some grains that you can eat, I'm a big fan of Fonio. My wife doesn't like it. She said it tastes like, she's not a big fan of Fonio. I like Fonio. I think it's a great grain for everyone to eat. Fonio, F-O-N-I-O. That's the way you spell it, Fonio. It's an African grain, but it actually is one of the best grains because it does not, it's a non-starchy grain, okay? So it doesn't negatively impact the blood sugar. And it's really rich in protein, but high in fiber, okay? Then I like wild rice. So I didn't put up regular rice. I put up wild rice. Wild rice is extremely good. It's a non-starchy rice. It's because it's wild. It's the way it was found in nature. It's a non-starchy rice versus your basmatis or your brown rices and your jasmine rices and things like that. That is very starchy and it's going to raise your blood sugar. Wild rice does not have the same effect and is much more fibrous. It takes a long time to cook though. The only problem I have with brown rice is that it takes a long time to cook. I think almost about an hour. And you know, and it's a different texture than your regular rice. Whole wheat, I'm not going to throw it all away. I'm not a big fan of whole wheat, but I want to keep it out there. As long as you use the whole wheat, not the honey wheat bread or anything like that, I will limit your breads anyway, but just in general. Quinoa is very low glycemic, a grain, excellent source of protein, excellent source of fiber, really good source of B vitamins. Amaranth is a seed. It's actually a grain. It's the ancient Aztecs and used to eat amaranth. Really high in B vitamins and things like that. Really good for keeping blood sugar more stabilized. It doesn't affect you the same way like if you eating rice. Millet, I love millet. Millet, you add it, you season the water, and millet absorbs all the flavor of the water. Millet is really, really good. And buckwheat, that's another good grain that cook with. Buckwheat. I remember my mother back in the day used to love cooking buckwheat. Buckwheat is a really good grain. It does not negatively impact the blood sugar the same exact way as your typical rices, and it gives you a variety of different grains to try out, to try and cook with your meal and see how you like it. Versus just the same old rice. What are you having today? Rice. What are you having tomorrow? Rice. What are you having on Thursday? Rice. It's always rice, rice, rice. So this gives you an opportunity to try different grains. It's either rice, wheat, or oat. Oh, and oats are also pretty good. Oats are also pretty good. Like I like oatmeal for breakfast. I like muesli. That's like a non-cooked granola. And that's a really good breakfast. I prefer that. As well as steel cut oats. The thicker the oat, the better it is. I know people who love steel cut oats. I prefer regular rolled oats. I'm an old-fashioned type of guy. Don't do the instant oats. Those are way too thin. They raise your blood sugar level tremendously. So stay away from instant oatmeal or instant oats. You either do the rolled oats, the old-fashioned rolled oats, or the steel cut oats. Those are the best oats for you. Okay, so now let's get into it. Now you know I'm in the health food field, and we talk about this all the time. So now let's talk about what they sell inside the stores that's going to help you, because that's what most people want to know. What do you sell inside of a store that's going to help me with my blood sugar? The number one nutrient that you can use is chromium. Okay? Let's go back. The number one, before anything else, is chromium. Chromium picolinate or GTF chromium. Okay, GTF stands for glucose tolerance factor. You also have chromium picolinate. That's different than picolinate. But we're not going to get into all those. There's different forms of it. But your basic things are chromium picolinate or GTF chromium. Okay, now let's talk about chromium. Why is chromium so good? Chromium makes you more insulin sensitive. Okay, now we talked about how in the beginning diabetes type 2. Okay, we're going to talk mainly focusing on diabetes type 2. In the beginning, we talked about how you're actually producing a lot more insulin in the beginning. You're producing a lot of it. But the insulin is actually not working effectively. Okay? Your body is not able to use that insulin to be able to shoot that blood sugar into the cell. So the insulin is not as effective. Chromium makes you more insulin sensitive. You become more sensitive to the insulin that's in your blood, making your insulin work much more effectively. Okay? That's what chromium does. It makes your insulin work more effectively. So when you take a chromium, 200 micrograms a day, or maybe twice a day, up to 500 micrograms a day, when you take a chromium, it takes the insulin that's already in your blood when you eat, and it makes it work more effectively. It's like giving you a better key for your lock. So what does that do? It opens up, it allows that insulin to open up the door to allow the sugar to go inside those cells to be burnt as energy. That's what chromium does. Okay? So the number one nutrient you can buy in the store is chromium picolinate or GTF chromium. Okay? So when you look at your supplement products that you have for blood sugar, you want to make sure it has chromium picolinate in there or GTF chromium or some type of chromium in there. That's number one. Number two, we going through minerals. Number two, vanadium sulfate, better known as vanadium. It's another mineral. Okay? Sorry, I had to drink a little bit of water. Vanadium sulfate. Vanadium sulfate does similar to chromium. It makes you more insulin sensitive. Okay? It makes you much more insulin sensitive. All right? Vanadium sulfate also does something too. If you exercise, vanadium sulfate mimics insulin. Not only makes you more insulin sensitive, it actually mimics insulin and causes the blood sugar to be able to shoot into the muscle. Now, why is that important? If you're exercising, it's going to lower your blood sugar. It also acts anabolically. It actually makes your muscles hard. When you take vanadium sulfate and exercise, it makes your muscles harder, as well as it keeps that blood sugar much more under control. Very effective product. And then magnesium. We talked about all the benefits of magnesium last time. Magnesium has over 400 benefits in the blood. It's 400 biological reactions happen with magnesium. But one of the things magnesium does is it actually is responsible for insulin secretion and activity in the body tissue, okay? So magnesium is extremely important for your body actually to secrete insulin. So those are three minerals that also helps with blood sugar levels. Now, vitamins that help with blood sugar levels, B complex. B complex is excellent for your blood sugar levels, okay? Why is B complex really good? So you talk about your B vitamins. One of the main things that B vitamins do is help the body metabolize carbohydrates, okay? What does your B vitamin do? It helps your body metabolize carbohydrates. All right. So when you're thinking about taking a good vitamin, it's always good. One of the reasons why your body actually is supposed to take when you take your multiples, you eat with them anyway, is because the B vitamins help your body metabolize and break down carbohydrates. There's a couple of B vitamins that's really good for doing that. B1, B2, B6, and B12. Those are the four most important B vitamins that helps your body metabolize and utilize blood sugar better, but it also protects your nerve endings from like diabetic neuropathy and things like that. And it also helps improve blood circulation. So those are really four excellent vitamins that goes along with controlling blood sugar. It's your B1s, your B2s, your B6s, and your B12s. Really, really important. But a B complex just in general is excellent. You want to do anywhere between 50 to 100 milligrams of B complex every day to help you control that blood sugar much more. We already talked about last time the benefits of vitamin D. We already talked about why vitamin D is important. We talked about vitamin D as it reduces inflammation in the beta cells in the pancreas. So we talked about that. So the last video we did on vitamin D, I went into how it affects blood sugar levels. Vitamin C, we did that too on the last video too. That's another great one for blood sugar levels and things like that. Because it's an antioxidant, and one of the main things that diabetes causes with having a tremendous amount of insulin in the blood is it causes a tremendous amount of oxidative stress, oxidative damage. So you need antioxidants to keep that oxidative damage down that causes the blood sugar, that causes not the blood sugar to be elevated, but causes damage to the blood vessels, damage to the kidney, damage to the eyes, all those things like that. And then another nutrient that's extremely important is alpha lipoic acid. Now, what is alpha lipoic acid? It's actually a powerful antioxidant that could travel beyond the blood-brain barrier. Blood-brain barrier. Say that really fast. Blood-brain barrier. So it travels beyond that. It is one of the best for protecting your nerve endings. Okay? For protecting your nerve endings. One of the main side effects of diabetes when you do not keep your blood sugar under control is diabetic neuropathy. You get a tingling. You get a burning. You get swelling. All those things like that. You get numbness. All this is because the blood sugar is elevated and it's damaging the nerves. Keeping high blood sugar damages the body. Your body is not meant to have high blood sugar levels. It's not meant to. That's why you have diabetes, because the body is breaking down because you have elevated blood sugar levels. Having sugar in the blood too long damages the nerves. It also damages the kidneys. It also damages the capillaries in the eyes that can cause cataracts and blindness. One of the leading causes of blindness in the world outside of vitamin A deficiency is actually diabetes. It damages the eyes and it causes swelling in the back of the eyes. It can lead to glaucoma. It can lead, all this because of an elevated blood sugar level. It damages the kidneys. Why is that? Because the kidneys is not meant to be filtering a tremendous amount of sugar in the blood. It's not meant to do that. It will do it, but it's not its job. It doesn't want to do that. And if it does, it damages the small capillaries in the kidneys over time, and it can cause kidney failure or renal failure. And then you'll see somebody who's been diabetic for years, all of a sudden they have to go on dialysis because they have damaged their kidneys, all from having too much sugar in the blood. You just think about it. Think about it. Did your body want to circulate syrup? Or does it want to circulate smooth blood like water? Just really, really, really think about it. When you have elevated blood sugar levels, it's like your body is circulating syrup. How difficult can that be? That the body is trying to move around syrup. Okay? So just picture that in your head when you're thinking of the elevated blood sugar levels. Okay? Think of your body, your heart pumping syrup. You know? Ain't what they say, my heart ain't nothing sweet in my heart. Ain't no sugar here. This is a hard. No. If you're diabetic, it's pumping syrup. It is literally pumping syrup if you don't keep it under control. You know, there's some people who walk around with elevated blood sugar levels every day in the 300s, in the 400s, you know? So you want to do something about that. Okay. So, wow, they got fireworks going on outside my office, so you may hear a little something. So foods that can be eaten for diabetes, and then we already went through that, and now let's talk about herbs that can be used. Okay? Herbs that can be used for diabetes, as well as hypoglycemia too. But some of this is not going to be used. Bitter melon, better known as Corilla or Corilla, depending if you're from the West Indies. I found that the Pakistanis call it Corilla. Bitter melon. Bitter melon, it looks like a beat up cucumber, is extremely effective for lowering blood sugar levels. It's an excellent vegetable. It's bitter. It looks like I said, it looks like a beat up cucumber almost, like that has like bumps on it, like, you know, old warty cucumber. But it's better known as Corilla or bitter melon. One of the best for lowering your blood sugar. Ceylon cinnamon. Okay, I'm gonna say that again. Ceylon cinnamon, not regular cinnamon cassia. Did you know real cinnamon the cinnamon that we buy out here is not true cinnamon? It's actually called cinnamon cassia. In some places, they don't even call it cinnamon. It's just called cassia, okay? Because it's not a true cinnamon. Ceylon cinnamon is actually a true cinnamon. Ceylon cinnamon has been shown to help lower glucose levels. It's extremely effective. Bitter melon, I think, is a little better. It's a little better. But Ceylon cinnamon is another great spice / herb / food that also helps with keeping blood sugar much more under control. Now, there's way more than what I'm going to tell you. I just want you to know, but I'm giving you some of the basics. Guava leaf. Did you know that guava leaf was extremely good to help lowering blood sugar levels? Guava leaf, very, very good herb for lowering blood sugar levels. Berberine. So berberine is not an herb. Berberine is an extract from herbs. Okay? Berberine is a bitter alkaloid that comes from either golden seal, Oregon grapefruit, or barberry. Okay? Berberine is a bitter alkaloid. It's the yellow. When you buy golden seal, it's yellow. That yellow that's inside there is called berberine. The yellow that's what you find inside of Oregon grapefruit is berberine. The yellow that makes the yellow of the barberry bark herb is berberine. Berberine is extremely good for lowering blood sugar. Okay? And it also helps protect the liver, and also has an excellent cleansing effect on the kidney, and is one of the best, actually acts like a natural antibiotic to a certain degree too. So berberine, once again, I said it again, berberine, it's not an herb itself. It comes from 3 different types of herbs, but it's usually found from, most people get it in the form of Oregon grapefruit because golden seal is more expensive. Okay? Jamina. Okay? Jamina is an Indian herb. It's a really good herb for helping to lower blood sugar. And if you ever drink the tea, it's one of the coolest things in the world. Okay? If you ever drink the tea, it blocks the sweet receptor sites on the tongue. It blocks your sweet taste buds. So if you drink Jamina, or Gamina, or wherever way you want to pronounce it, if you drink the tea of it, it lowers your blood sugar, but then it also makes you not want to drink anything sweet because you can't taste it. You eat that, and you take a bite of cake. About 2 minutes later, the only thing you'll taste is dough. It is incredible. It is one of the craziest things you ever have. That when you drink it, it blocks the sweet taste buds for about an hour and a half. So anything you eat in that hour and a half, you won't even eat anything sweet because you can't taste it. Okay? Blueberry leaf. And this is really cool. This is how I always say God has a way of showing us things. Most of the fruits, the leaves of the fruit, also are good for blood sugar level. So we talked about guava leaf. Blueberry leaf is really good for blood sugar level. Huckleberry leaf, peach leaves, uva ursi leaves, all these leaves that come from herbs. I mean that these all these leaves that come from fruits are extremely good for blood sugar levels. Okay, moringa. Moringa is an excellent herb that's really good for dealing with blood sugar. It's also a bitter herb, but it's really good for lowering blood sugar. Another good herb, neem. Oh, neem is bitter. Neem is very bitter. And if you ever want to, this is off the cuff, you can make a great neem mask. Okay? You take the neem herb, that it has nothing to do with diabetes. But neem is so good for the skin. You take the herb, add a little water, rub it on your face. Now, neem causes your eyes to tear up because it has these vapors that come in. It will make your eyes tear up. But it's extremely good for making your skin stay healthy and young, okay? Neem. But neem is a really good herb for stimulating pancreas to secrete more insulin, as well as neem is a bitter herb, and bitters are really, really good for helping to control blood sugar. An herb called fenugreek. Now, you probably heard of fenugreek before, okay? Fenugreek, when you make curry, if you ever look at your seasoning of curry, one of the main ingredients in there is an herb called fenugreek. Fenugreek helps lower blood sugar level. And fenugreek also helps thin the body of mucus, and it's really good for a lot of women use it who are going through pregnancy or who are actually lactating because it helps them produce more milk. So fenugreek is another great herb. And then did we talk about turmeric? Because we talked about how it's extremely important to keep inflammation down when you're dealing with diabetes. Turmeric is another great herb that helps keep blood sugar much more. It's okay for keeping the blood sugar under control. It deals with the other side effects from having diabetes. So turmeric is also an excellent herb that helps deal with diabetes. So those are a few things that herbs that talked about diabetes. We talked about herbs. We talked about minerals such as chromium, vanadium, and magnesium. Also, selenium is also really good too. But the three best is chromium, vanadium, better known as vanadium sulfate, and also magnesium. We talked about the foods that can help. We want to do 90%. Our plate wants to be 90% protein and vegetables. So we want to do 50% vegetable, 40% protein, 10% grain. And we talk about the grains like funyo and millet and quinoa and wild rice and amaranth and things like that you can cook, buckwheat that you can cook that's really good for you. We also talked about the herbs such as like bitter melon, Ceylon cinnamon, guava leaf, berberine, jamina, blueberry leaf, moringa, neem, the bitter herbs, dandelion root, and fenugreek, and things like that. So we talked about a few things. Now I'm going to open up the floor. And also we talked about B-complex, alpha-lipoic acid, and things like that. I'm going to open up the floor to questions because a lot of people deal with when it comes down to dealing with diabetes. And it runs especially rampant in the African-American community, but it's not just us, though. Everyone has, every group of people have diabetes somewhere, somehow. So we want to talk a little bit about it. If you have any questions about it, what supplements are you taking, and then we can talk. So throw the questions away. It's the time. It's actually, we got 15 minutes of questions. So talk to me.
Hello, my name Miles Williams. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, Miles. What's going on?
Okay, I'm fine. Listen, if you ain't diabetic, could you still use that same stuff, ingredients you're talking about?
Yes, you can. Yes, you can. Some things are just, so let me give you a good example. Now, we talked about chromium, right? Chromium percolinate is a mineral that's essential. Chromium, your body uses chromium percolinate to actually help itself make insulin from the first place. Okay? Chromium, magnesium, your body uses those two minerals to allow your body to make insulin. Okay? So it's extremely important. Even if you're not diabetic, it also keeps your blood sugar more stabilized just in general. When you lack chromium, you crave sweets more. Isn't that funny? Think about this. When you are diabetic, chromium helps you control your blood sugar, right? But when you are not diabetic, chromium helps it helps everybody cut their cravings for sweets. One of the things, if you are deficient in chromium, you crave sweets more. So if you crave sweets more and you become more and more deficient in chromium, the more and more deficient in chromium you are, the more that you invite in an environment that's going to allow that gene to express itself to you to become diabetic. So chromium acts as almost like a preventative measure as well as a treatment. So yes, you can do that. Same thing with magnesium. Same thing with some of those herbs in the food everyone should be doing no matter what. When I talk about eating 90 or like 90 and 10, 50% vegetable, 40% protein, 10% grain, that is actually going to benefit everyone. It's not just for a diabetic or someone who's hypoglycemic. It's for anyone who wants to keep their blood sugar more under control, because if you keep your blood sugar more under control, you'll have more energy, you'll reduce inflammation, you'll keep your weight more under control, you'll improve your satiety, and you'll feel better.
So do you find this in health food stores?
You can find chromium in the nutrients that I'm talking about in health food stores. You can find it in some of the supermarkets and things like that. Yes, you can. You can find it online. Yes, you can.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Anybody else? This is a good topic. How many people we know got diabetes? How many people we know got diabetes? I have a friend of mine who's hypoglycemic. The first time I ever heard of it, what he used to tell me, Big Jim used to tell me, every time he ate, he would take a B complex and a chromium percolinate, and that will keep his blood sugar much more from having those dips. And he would eat smaller portions, and he got into talking to me about how high protein and doing more vegetables and cutting back the grains. And that kept his blood sugar under control. Like, he was hypoglycemic. So that means when he would eat, he would get, his blood sugar will go up, but then it will drop. And then it will make him fall asleep. He will be lethargic. I mean, it's bad. Sometimes he'll be driving. If his blood sugar drops, he literally like almost like lose consciousness, but he will still be awake, but he will lose consciousness. He'll be forgetting where he is and all those things like that. So, yeah.
Whoa.
Anybody else? Now, we talking about blood sugar. Everyone knows someone who has blood sugar issues. And if you don't, God bless you. I know a couple of people, so I'm listening. But if you don't have any questions,
no,
go ahead.
I have a question for you. Hi, it's Carolyn.
How you doing, Carolyn?
I'm doing just fine. How you feeling?
I'm feeling good. Today is a good day. I'm fully recovered from the COVID fiasco of last week. I'm fully recovered, so I'm feeling better.
Good.
God bless you.
Thank you.
So, recently, my brother had been taking metformin.
Okay.
And he decided he was going off all medication.
Mm-hmm.
And most things were good, but when he got his blood checked, his blood sugar was up to 200.
Okay. Yeah.
So I have him. I gave him a 21-day challenge of no carbs. Well, not no carbs, but cutting the carbs, because he drinks like apple juice. Apple juice. So I said, okay, you could have 1/3 apple juice, 2/3 water once a day. So you tell me what you think about this.
Well, so one of the main things that I always tell people, if you're diabetic, no juice. No juice. It's no juice. You're better off eating the fruit than actually drinking the juice. Okay. To make a cup of apple juice, it requires you to juice about 5 apples. Okay? Mm-hmm. And you have to understand how much sugar that is. Most people are not sitting down eating 5 apples,
Right.
but you'll drink the sugar of 5 apples. So when it comes down to diabetes, one of the main, you just avoid juice. Avoid soda, things like that. It's okay to drink. I prefer you to eat the fruit. If you want apple juice, go grab you an apple. Okay. Go eat an apple, and do that, because at least you're getting the fiber that slows down the blood sugar level. Like, it keeps the blood sugar much more under control. You're getting the nutrients that goes along with the sugars. You're getting the very small amount of that protein that goes along with it. But it's really, you're consuming the whole thing, and you're not consuming as much sugar. If you eat an apple, I dare somebody to sit down and eat 5 apples, but you can sit down and drink a cup of juice like that. And then if you really get a good one, you'll probably want another cup. If it's ice cold, you'll probably want another cup. You may consume 10 apples right there in the amount of sugar that you have. So right. It's easier for them to eat the. Hold on, let me do this. Give me 1 second. It's easier for them to eat the fruit than it is to consume the juice. Mm-hmm. So what he's doing, and if he's off metformin and he's talking to his doctor, if he's keeping his blood sugar checked, if he's exercising, when you exercise, it actually makes your blood sugar, it literally puts you in what they call an anabolic state, in which your body is building up and is burning and things like that. So, well, catabolic is burning, but it puts you in the anabolic state. So it will help him shoot that sugar into his cells and allow his body to be able to use it. He also wants to, like you said, can reduce the carbs down to nothing, as well as if he could get some of these nutrients in, it's going to make a major, major difference. And if he could get a nice tea to drink, maybe he can make himself an iced tea. Go ahead.
I told him to make iced tea, because that's another thing. They buy that powder iced tea mix, and him, the first ingredient is sugar. I'm like, you can't use that. So he has been brewing his own iced tea and drinking that.
Is he using sugar, or is he using like stevia or erythritol or agave nectar, something like that? What is he using?
Nothing, because when he would drink tea,
good.
He wouldn't sweeten his tea. So
okay, good. That's perfect. That's even better.
So he's doing that. I told him And, I just had to do this off the top of my head. So, like, I said he could have 3 slices of bread a week. Now, this is somebody who normally eats a sandwich every day.
Okay.
I said you could have 3 slices of bread. So, 3 days you could have an open-faced sandwich.
Okay.
I told him if he really, really felt like a need, he could have a few crackers. I told him he could have 4 Ritz crackers with, like, some tuna fish or something like that, rather than, eating bread.
Yeah. See, and that's the thing. What you're doing is, what you're saying is 100% correct. You're keeping the carbs low. Now, instead of having just tell him make a tuna salad. He could get the same benefits without the crackers. And it was satisfying. A lot of times we are used to having carbs. Trust and believe. Most people are carb addicts. It's very difficult to get off carbs. But there are nutrients like the chromium and the magnesium actually cuts his cravings for him. So when you first get off, you are literally like craving them like if you were on drugs sometimes. Like you fiend them. But it takes about 3 to 5 days to break that. And while you break that, once you break that, it's easy to stay away from them from that point on. But when he's doing these nutrients and he's eating higher protein foods and more fibrous foods, it helps him with that even better.
Right. So I told my sister-in-law, she's like fixing 2 vegetables. Usually they would have a starch, a vegetable, and a meat.
Okay.
So fixing 2 vegetables, and corn is not one of them, even though that's
corn is not a vegetable, it's a starch.
Right. So even though that's one of his favorites. So he hasn't so he's not eating corn. So I told him 21 days, and then that will help him change all around.
Yes, you're absolutely right. So what you're doing is correct for your brother. So,
suggestions to go with that?
Well, actually what you're doing is correct. I like the way you're doing it. So this is one thing. This is a broad way of looking at and dealing with diabetes, and the way I approached it. You're dealing with it more on a individual basis. That is even better because you know the person you're talking to, and you know their limitations, and you know what they like, and so you can say, listen, he likes doing iced tea. He doesn't have to do it without any with sugar. He eats tuna. I told him 4 crackers. That's perfect. I would tell you to get him like a chromium to go along with that. If he could do a chromium picolinate, if he could do a B complex, or if he can go to a store and get a blood sugar type of tablet, thing like that. I think that will also help assist him because right now he's doing it through diet, and that's the way to do it. That's always the best way. But he can add on nutrients that's going to help him control his blood sugar even better. He can do the product out there called Sucralor D. Like I said, vanadium is really, vanadyl sulfate is really good. They have a blood sugar tea called Blood Sugar Balance. So there is a lot of stuff out there right now that he can use to help him along with his journey to get his blood sugar under control, especially since he's gotten off the medicine. He needs a nutritional supplement that's going to assist him with keeping that under control more while he's changing his diet.
Okay.
All right?
Thank you. Thank you.
No problem. Anybody else? We got a couple of more minutes. We got about 4 more minutes before we get ready to shut down for the night. Shut down. Chromium, vanadium. I took vanadyl sulfate before. Vanadyl sulfate is excellent. If you ever exercise and use vanadyl sulfate, it makes your muscles so hard. It makes your muscles so hard when you're exercising. And then, but you want to take it with a carb-rich meal, okay? Vanadyl sulfate. Another good one, bitter melon. A good juice to drink. You want to juice half a bitter melon to a full bitter melon, a half a cucumber with 2 stalks of celery. Excellent blood sugar drink. Half a bitter melon to a full one, if you can tolerate that. At least a half a bitter melon, a half a cucumber, and 2 stalks of celery. Really good for lowering your blood sugar. Really good for hydrating you. Really good for protecting your kidneys. Half a bitter melon to a full bitter melon. half a cucumber, 2 stalks of celery. All right? Don't never say I never gave you anything.
Excuse me, this is Mr. Williams, Miles again. Is
yeah.
this on your website or something?
No, I don't have a website. Okay. I'm just an educator. No, I'm just telling you something that you can use. You know, I mean, you know, we sell, the store I work for, we sell that, you know, Olive May Foods. We sell blood sugar products. So if you want to buy something from there, you can. We carry some of the best on the market. So it's olivemayfoods.com. You can go there and you can see like Sucraltrol D from Terry Naturally. You can see blood sugar balance. You can see all that stuff. So that's just something that you can use as a reference point. My job is not to try to sell you anything. I'm not trying to sell you anything. I'm just trying to educate you about what's out there. But if you want to have access to stuff that I know that can definitely assist you, you can go to the store's website, olivemayfoods.com, and check out some things up there for blood sugar.
Is that spelled all the way out, or any spacing in that?
No, just all one word. Olive, like olives that we eat, OLIVEMAYFOODS.com. Is it foods? I think it's foods. But if not, you just put Olive May and you'll find it anyway. We're only one of a kind health food store in New Jersey. But yeah, so those are some of the things that you can use on their website. You can find stuff. But like I said, my job, I'm not here to sell you anything. My job is just to educate and answer questions when it comes down to anything we talk about, any topic that we talk about. And I want everyone to be educated. And when you listen to the Health Man Show, my job is to make sure that you are the most educated consumer when you go inside of a store. And that's it.
We thank you. And Miles, the show is being recorded.
Okay.
That's right. The show is being recorded. You'll be able to check it back if need be. And it's the Health Man Show. So listen, I think it's 10 o'clock as well, 9:59. So it's just about time for us to roll on out. I appreciate everyone coming on today. We had a good topic. We had a good talk. I was glad that we talked a little bit about diabetes. I think next week we may talk about a little bit about CMOS. And all the benefits of CMOS and what everybody uses CMOS for. So, once again, thank you for tuning in to the Health Man Show. It's your host, Abdul Ismail. I appreciate you being here on a Sunday night. I know it's not easy, so thank you so much. And everyone have a good night.
You stay healthy now.
All right, now you too. Take care.
If I could just add in, tomorrow we have Dr. Beverly at 11 and 5, and then talking with Brother Leon, let's talk about it at 7 p.m. So 11, 5, 7 p.m. are the shows on Grown Folk Talking tomorrow.
We got 11 a.m., 5 p.m.?
Yes, 11, 5, and 7.
Gotcha.
Dr. Beverly has a split show.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.